I think you've identified a key issue with Joe Biden. That is, it's all carrots, there are no sticks, right? So with Manchin and Sinema, what pressure has Joe Biden put on them in terms of what punishment has Joe Biden threatened them with if they don't play ball with the Democrats? And I haven't heard of any. It's all, oh yeah, we can try to help you with infrastructure. Oh yeah, sure, we're not gonna go for the minimum wage. It's always appeasement to these centrist Democrats. And as a result, Joe Biden never earns any respect of them because they don't fear the president of the United States. They don't fear that there's gonna be any consequences for crossing him or crossing the rest of the Democratic Party. And until there is some sort of punishment, I think Joe Biden's gonna get walked all over by these centrist Democrats, and you're gonna have this play out again and again.
Yeah, what of my fear? Well, let me throw a couple of other names out there. Saw earlier today, GOP Senator Jerry Moran is wavering in his support of the bipartisan infrastructure deal. He wants assurances from Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema that they will oppose reconciliation for him to stay on board. Now, he knows that at least if you take Nancy Pelosi at her word, were they to do that, then the House would not approve of the bipartisan bill. We'll see about that. It's entirely possible that she will reverse on it, but that would mean that you'd get nothing, which Jerry Moran is clearly perfectly fine with. And even then, like, it's not just the Republicans. You have Representative Schrader, who said, I'm not voting for reconciliation. I think the reconciliation process is completely unwarranted. I'm not going to vote for $5 trillion of spending. And when I saw that, I clicked on the link to go to that person and say, oh, which Republican congressman is this? And it took quite a bit of digging. It's not a Republican, in fact. It's almost impossible to find out because on his social media, there's no reference to his party. When you even go to his website, the only way I could discover is looking at some of the subgroups within the Democrats that he's actually a part of. Isn't that fascinating? That it would be that difficult to actually know what party an elected member of Congress is even a part of. And yet, I guess this is the middle ground that he wants to play, both in terms of identification and also in terms of trying to stop his party from accomplishing any of the actual things that they campaigned on. Because he believes that, like devil's advocate, like, or being charitable, his position in the center it needs to be respected, or more likely, the donors that have been paying him off need to be respected. But in any event, this is what we have less than 1 day into this process. Multiple Republican senators saying it's not gonna happen, or at the very least, it's not gonna happen unless the Democrats torpedo a different part of it that would presumably make it not happen. And even now, you have at least one Democrat that's saying the process they've sketched out, I'm not going to be in favor of. Maybe Nancy Pelosi could afford to lose Schrader, but are there potentially others that could join up? I don't know. And so, look, we've all talked about our concerns about whether this process will work. So let's assume that it doesn't. Let's assume that the path that Joe Biden has sketched out is not what's going to happen. I want your final thoughts on this. What will happen? Is it nothing? Is it a limited reconciliation bill? Is it a more limited bipartisan bill? Let's start with you, Adrienne. What do you think? 6 months from now, will there be any bill? And if so, what might it look like?
I think it'll be a half-assed effort that is really inept in various ways. It doesn't truly achieve the core things that Biden or the Democratic Party would want in any way. I honestly think it'll be a flaccid effort. I don't know how many more ways I can say. I think it'll be a hot mess and nothing worth doing anything about, not the reason that they started this. I could definitely see that happening.
David?
Look, my thought on this is that some of the transportation funding bills expire at the end of the summer. So at the very least, I can see Congress saying, okay, well, we couldn't agree to this infrastructure bill or reconciliation. Let's just keep the funding levels at the exact same level they're at now, continuing those monies, and it'll be something very narrow like that. There won't be anything new. There won't be any sort of increase in budgets for particular things that the Democrats want. And that'll be it. And they'll keep existing programs going. And that to me is not a success at all. In fact, that'll be incredibly frustrating, particularly to Democrats when they think you've got control of the Senate, you've got control of the House, you've got the White House. There's got to be some way to get these centrist Democrats to play ball with you. And I still don't see what the path is.
Yeah, I mean, to continue the metaphor, if your players won't play, kick them off the team. I mean, right. And you might say, oh no, but then they'll become Republicans. Okay, well, as of right now, today, how different is it really? Honestly, I understand that it is in some ways, but it is incredibly frustrating.